now what's really, really great is these attribution tools where you can really, see the impact and influence of an affiliate partner. The great thing about having an agency is actually, if you haven't got the big teams, then they can help you with that. They can manage that for you. Setting that foundation to be able to build upon is the key and most important thing.
Hello, you're listening to an episode of the Affiliate Marketing Diaries from Navigate Digital. I'm David Hall, the host of today's episode. In each episode, a different, interesting and capable person with a wealth of knowledge and performance marketing experience from running successful affiliate marketing programs shares some of their highs and lows, joys and frustrations, hopes and expectations for this global customer acquisition channel. Today, we track the click path taken by today's guest, Geordie White, lead affiliate manager at SMARTY Mobile, a challenger brand under the 3 Mobile umbrella. And as of minutes ago, hot off the press, a challenger brand under the Vodafone umbrella, making them a much, much bigger organisation than they were about 15 minutes ago. I'm sure we'll get into that as we go, but let me just open the mic. Geordie, hello, and welcome to the Affiliate Marketing Diaries.
Hi David, thanks for having me. It's good to speak to you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it has been a little while. Yeah. I've been hiding under a rock. It was a big rock. Okay, so during the conversation, we'll talk about all sorts of bits and pieces related to affiliate marketing and the program management. You come with a really interesting background. In fact, I can ask you to talk a little bit about it yourself, but let me preempt it. That is, not many people have your breadth of experience. So you have done agency side with Optimus, you've done a network side with Awin, you've been a publisher with GiftCloud, you've done publisher technology with Intently, and now you're merchant and advertiser side with SMARTY 3 Vodafone. That's an incredible amount of experience.
Yeah, it's a sort of rounded view of the industry, I think, which is really beneficial, I think, when you're advertiser side, because you've been on the other side of the fence most of the time, so you kind of know what expectations are, and you know actually what these partners and agencies can actually offer. So it's definitely advantageous now on brand side. But yeah, I think from my point of view, I'm someone that always likes to try something new and get out my comfort zone. So that's probably why I've tried these different parts of the industry. And it was always my intention, I think, to end up brand side when I felt ready.
The first question that I actually like to ask everyone is, when did you first become aware that affiliate marketing was a thing?
Well, I still don't know if it is, to be honest with you, David. No, so to be honest, I actually had, so when I was at university, I had friends or kind of mentors, I guess, that worked in the industry anyway. So I had somewhat of an idea, but I still didn't truly understand it. And then, it was a case of, when I went for my first entry role, really, that was when it was a case of, well, I need to do my research here. I need to understand what affiliate marketing is, because, even now, I don't think my mum knows or understands what I do. So I try and break it down in real layman's terms, and describe it as partnership marketing, really, or just partnerships in general. But yeah, there's obviously a lot more to that, but I think that's the most basic way to describe it. So yeah, before I sort of did my research for my first interview, I wasn't really sure what it was. I think I just saw, my mentor going to lots of conferences in London, which looked like a lot of fun and looked like something that I wanted to go and do as well. So yeah, it was probably when I was researching in my interview for my first role, when I really knew what it was. And then even still, there was a big learning process after that, because as I said, there's a lot to the role and lots to the industry, and even still now, learning new things.
What would be your 101 for affiliate marketing, and then your 202, which would be something that someone's starting to advance, who's going to stretch their legs into, and then something really complicated, which you're really going to okay, if you wanted to really stretch it, you could start doing these sorts of things.
I think the first thing you do, or you should do when you're working with a new client, is really just get your sort of house in order. Get your processes in place, make sure that everything is tidy, works efficiently, or as efficiently as it can do. Understand your different partners, understand who your key partners are, and I think setting processes and really kind of setting that foundation to be able to build upon is the key and most important thing. I think you'll sometimes find affiliate programs, certainly when I was at agency, where you've got hundreds of different partners, you don't really know what half of them do, it's a bit of a free-for-all, so it's about really kind of condensing that and saying, right, okay, what do we want to achieve here, who do we want to work with, who is actually adding value to the program, and then also, as I said, those processy things. So all the I guess the kind of more admin-y stuff that needs to be done, just make sure there's a process for that, and set your foundation to be able to grow. I think that's the most important thing, because if you're trying to do something that's too advanced and you haven't got that framework and that foundation, even if it's things like tracking, actually, is your tracking optimized? Are we getting them with data we can? Are we utilizing that data? What's our process for this scenario, etc., etc. I think that's the most key thing to actually solidifying that foundation and giving a good platform to grow on, I think. So that's the key thing. That's if we certainly when I was an agency, if there was a new affiliate program, you would run that audit and you'd say, right, okay, where are our pain points here? How can we improve? Let's just get our ducks in a row here, and ensure that we've given ourselves a good platform to build on. I think once you've got that in place, I think then you can start to grow and start to try new things and start to work with new partners, and really start to look at things like benchmarking and different data points, and start to look at new partners, etc. Look at the market, and then understand actually where are your key opportunities. It might be a certain market that you've never gone into. It might be different publishers that your competitors are working with that you're not. It might even just be different ways of working with your partners, different payment models, for example, things like assists, and not just the conversion tool. And as I said, build on that foundation and start to then optimize your program. I think that's the key part. And once you start doing that, you can start to actually really develop things like your tracking and start to truly understand the value of your affiliates on an individual level. I think one thing I'm really keen to do is actually understand on a partner level the value that they have, because each affiliate and each publisher is different. There will be some that are different parts of the funnel. There will be some that give you high value customers. There will be some that give you lower value customers. And when you can start to understand that on a granular level, you can really, really start to be smart with how you invest with these different partners. And actually that then has a financial impact. So you're spending smarter, you're getting better value of customers, higher value customers, you're understanding the different places in the funnel where your publishers sit, and you can then really, really have a rounded view of each value of each publisher on a granular level. And I think that's probably where you want to get to, but ultimately, unless you've got that foundation, you can't ever get to that point. It's easier said than done, definitely. I listen a lot to a podcast called the High Performance Podcast, but they talk a lot about something called world-class basics, which means you don't have to be an elite sports performer or an elite achiever to actually have world-class basics, because anybody can do the basic things really, really well. And I think, again, going back to my point about building that foundation, if you're doing that off the bat, you're going to have a really great foundation to grow, and you're not going to run into issues down the line when you do want to, maybe do some more advanced things. So I think, as I said, there's a lot that goes into, the running of a whole affiliate program. But if you get those basics to the best in class, then I think actually it gives you a great platform to build upon. And then, as I said, you can start trying these other things. But yeah, I think that, it's quite interesting just taking those little snippets and applying them to your sort of day to day.
What was the first project that you got involved in where you thought you felt like you made a difference?
There's a couple, really. I think we were very early to the tech partner scene. I think we used to work, back then it was companies such as Geordie, and I think it was the Interactive back then, who I think, I'm not sure if they're even around anymore, but yeah, we were very, very quick, I think, to utilising affiliates to actually integrate tech partners even back then. And we used to really kind of, a lot of our clients, they weren't doing any of the retargeting or improving conversion on their site. We worked with a lot of SME brands who just didn't have the resource. So I think it was one of those where it was, we'd go to them and would say, look, we can increase your conversion through the affiliate channel on the CPI model, very low risk, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, a lot of our clients were very successful in that and absolutely loved us for that, because it's not something they considered they could do without actually having to do a lot of work their side. So I think, that's one example, but another was actually slightly different. There was a client where it was very much a lead gen client. So it was slightly different to the classic affiliate program where you're working with slightly different publishers. So again, that was it was quite new to me when we started working with them, but I actually went away and kind of found a lot of really, really key partners for that particular client, and it was very successful. And I think they started to really value the channel then, whilst previously it was it's not always seen as a channel that can utilize lead gen. It's very transactional. It's usually for e-commerce sites, but yeah, that kind of lead gen side of it definitely made an impact, and yeah, they start to become a very valuable channel for them. Whilst before, I don't think it was seen as that.
Should lead gen and affiliate marketing just embrace and be considered the same thing?
Sure. Well, I think ultimately it depends on the model. I think affiliate marketing is a performance channel, so it minimises risk, which is why I think a lot of other channels or other parts of marketing do end up falling into affiliates. So I think we're seeing it now with influencer marketing, for example. Previously it was in the PR teams sat very separately to affiliate marketing, but actually what we're seeing now is much more of a crossover, because the performance element of affiliates reduces that risk element for brands. And it's the same with lead gen, I think, where if you're paying up front and you're not guaranteed X amount of leads, for example, that's much more of a risk. But if you move it into affiliates, the performance channel, actually you're saying, look, you pay for what you get, minimize the risk. So I think that's where the crossover is. So it really depends on the model, but I think that's probably why it crosses over so much.
So you're saying that the lead gen becomes valuable when you make it I'm not paying you for the lead, I'm paying you for the lead that converts.
Yeah, and even if you do look to just pay on the leads at the start, you can actually just be more flexible with commercials as well, I think. And as I said, it just puts everything more on a performance basis rather than a case of, look, we're going to, for example, if you work with it outside of a performance model, you could say, look, we're going to pay you a fixed fee, we're going to pay you up front for X amount of leads. We don't know what the quality of these are going to be yet. We can't manage that. We can't in real time look at these and at any point stop. So I think that's where it crosses over. And I think it's not just lead gen. I think there's other parts of businesses in marketing now where companies are saying, well, actually, look, if we kind of cross that over affiliates, it really minimises the risk, because I think the model is just so appealing, and that's always been the great thing about affiliates, is that performance model. And you look at traditional marketing, it's you pay up front, you don't know what you're going to get back. Actually, this is in real time and you're paying for what you get. So I think that's why it does tend to creep into affiliates, as I said, along with other marketing channels as well, and particularly what we're seeing at the moment with influencer marketing as well.
So if someone didn't have the luxury of the number of teams within their business that you do, how would you encourage them to get started with lead gen and doing more controlled lead gen prospecting activities? Sure.
So yeah, I think for SME brands particularly, I think the great thing about having an agency is actually, if you haven't got the big teams, then they can help you with that. They can manage that for you. Again, I did it when I was an agency myself, and actually became a much, much bigger marketing strand for that particular brand at the time. And I think there's lots of different tools. I think as I said, the affiliate model lends itself really well because it's performance based. You can then just manage the quality. You can measure the quality of your leads as well in real time, rather than just saying, right, I want let me just buy a bunch of leads here. Actually, you'll get the leads in real time, and you can start to manage those as you go. And I think that's quite important because you don't want to be sat there with 100,000 bad quality leads. Actually, if you get them in real time, you can look at the first 5,000 and say, do you know what, 80% of these are rubbish. Let's stop this kind of thing. So, it's that flexibility, I think, is really key. I think there are definitely partners and publishers in the space that can really help with that kind of thing. I know there are various tech partners that can utilize their solution to help you with prospecting. So, customers that are already interested in your brand, but may not want to shop at that particular time. You can, say to that customer, look, give us your email address, and then, we'll contact you, or, we'll add you to our mailing list, or this kind of thing. And then they might engage with the brand a little bit down the line. So there's definitely opportunities, but as I said, if you're a smaller brand with not a lot of resource, actually your agency is probably a good way to start, like it was when I was agency and I helped that particular brand.
Are there particular tech or suppliers that you've used in the past that you'd go back to, or that you'd recommend others look at?
Well, I mean, there's several, I think, in the space that are already good. I mean, you've got the likes of Upsell It, RevLifter, you've got Intently, you've got people like Sales Cycle. They can all offer prospecting within their solution. So again, that's customers that are interacting with your brand, and then they're not going to purchase necessarily at that time, but you can offer them an opportunity to be added to your mailing list, and then you can retarget that customer later down the line. So you start to build your database for your maybe your newsletter or your email marketing campaign or CRM, for example. I think that's a really good way of driving those leads. And also there are other companies such as ESB Connect, for example, where actually you can start to tap into their databases as well. So they've already got the leads, the customers already opted in, and you can start to target them based on their preferences, how they sit with your brand, etc., etc. And yeah, as I said, there's lots more out there for sure. But I think it's down to the agency to actually, really do some research into it, make sure that you're aligning with that brand, because the last thing you want is a bunch of useless leads that don't align with your brand and the customers don't want to shop with your brand.
I absolutely agree. The headline in there, when you start doing it, pay attention to its impact. Let's talk about how influencers can be categorized. How do you perceive the influencer base should and can be categorized?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it really depends on the brand. I think we're seeing lots of different platforms now. So, it's not just your Instagram user. I think you've got people that are huge on TikTok as well. I downloaded TikTok purely for that reason. I've posted nothing on it and still don't really know how to use it. But yeah, and as well as the likes of your Twitters and your Facebook, your kind of two traditional social platforms. So I think you have to look across the board and say, right, okay, what is my audience going to use as a platform, really? If it's a telco brand, a retail brand, there might be different age groups on those different platforms. You've probably got an older base on Facebook, for example, but then a much younger base on TikTok. So it depends on the influencer and what platform they use. I think where it would define actually are their audience right for our brand for a start. So if they might have a huge following on TikTok, they might not have a huge following on, say, Facebook, I don't know, or something else. So I think that's the key thing to define first, is actually are their audience right for us? And if they are, you'll have lots of different insights into what your target demographic are, and you can align that with the different influencers. So naturally it's going to be the following and the engagement, I think, are probably KPIs that you look at. But then you'd probably class the ones with the biggest as the macro influencers, but then you do have value in those smaller micro influencers as well, I think. But as I said, I think how you define them really depends on their audience, what platforms they use, and also you as a brand, I think, because it's got to align. Ultimately, there's no point having an influencer that is totally different to what you're trying to target, They might have a lot of followers, but if they're not targeting the right people, then actually are they really a big influencer for you? Probably not.
You guys are with, let me not get this wrong, you're with A1, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to A1. What is it that they are enabling? How are they enabling you to view and see that information?
Yeah, well, I think, as I said, across the board, there's a real commitment to the attribution side of things now, and there's different technologies available with different networks. However, the AWIN Tech is a company they acquired called SingleView. So this is something that I think, as I said, is super important, now more than ever when looking at the channel, because you can really get a end-to-end view of that customer journey. You can see where they started, which different channels they interacted with, including affiliates, and which channel they converted with ultimately. So, the data doesn't lie, evidence doesn't lie. So those internal conversations become a lot easier when you can say, well, look, we're not double paying out here. Actually, there is value in this particular partner. There will be some definitely where you say, do you know what? There's low value in this partner, and we're paying them too much. But that's when you can start to be smart with your spend and your budget. I think, as I said, across the board, it does seem to be like there's a big drive and push for attribution technology and for it to just be a transparent channel. Because I think in the early days, maybe it wasn't so. But now it's a case of, let's be totally transparent. Let's, even link into your internal analytics, whether it's your Tableau, whether it's your Google Analytics, etc., and match everything up. And then you can really just see the value of the affiliate channel, and compared to other channels as well, because I think there's always been crossover and there always will be crossover. That's just the way consumers work. But previously we probably haven't been able to see how they're interacting with different channels, whilst I think the new tech actually really gives you that view.
How has the way performance marketing budgets are managed changed?
Really depends on the business and probably the vertical as well. I remember sort of years ago, it was a case, you'd have clients, and I think it would be a case of, we have finite budget. If we hit that budget, we have to shut everything down for affiliates, which never made sense to me, because actually you're getting a return on investment for each customer, and essentially you're shooting yourself in the foot there, because you're saying, right, we've just delivered lots of different customers, but now we don't want any more because our budget's run out. However, if if that return on investment per customer is the same, then that shouldn't be the case. And it was probably treated more like traditional marketing spend, where it's what you put an advert in the paper, you pay a fixed fee for that, and it was much more of a fixed budget. I do think, just from being in the industry for many years, I do think it is changing to be more flexible, and it's a case of, as I said before, if we are getting a return on investment on each one of these customers, then we're making that sale profitable and we're bringing in profitable customers.
There's still an education process.
Yeah. Well, I think people, you say to people, well, look, have you ever used a comparison site? And they say, yeah, all the time. It's like, well, that's an affiliate partner, and I think people use the channel without even knowing it. And again, that's where the education piece comes in. Because they say, well, actually, I've used that. That's actually influenced me in what I've done and my purchases. So then they start to go, oh yeah, well, actually, maybe it is a really valuable channel.
What innovations really caught you by surprise?
Innovations caught me by surprise. We talked earlier about lead gen and influencer marketing kind of crossing over with affiliates, but what we're seeing now is B2B marketing really come into the space, and we're seeing lots of different companies and partners offer solutions where previously it would be a whole different team, it would sit in a different part of the business, but again, utilizing that affiliate model, that performance model, really giving you options with your B2B proposition. So the tech's really impressive actually with a lot of these partners, and I think it's not something that was previously considered within the channel, but definitely over the last year or so, I think it's really starting to become a big part of brands, and it's really growing a lot, and it's a different way of offering your customers value. And I think whilst you can give them value with price or discounts or whatever it may be, actually if you're saying to the customer, look, become a customer of ours, and then we're giving you discounts to these other brands, or we're giving you a value add or something. And I think that's definitely recently been something that it's been really interesting to explore, I think, because as I said, it was previously just a completely different part of a business. Your B2B team, that's different, and again, it's something that's kind of falling over into affiliates now. And if you can offer customers something different to your competitor, then that could be the difference between them shopping with you and them shopping with a rival brand, for example. So yeah, I think at the moment it's definitely the B2B solutions and the B2B partners that are really interesting and something that can really add value to your brand.
Yeah, I like that. That's something to get into today and something to look at. As someone who's been in the space long enough, there are things that you might be able to say, this could tilt the affiliate marketing world, but it's not happening yet. What might that be?
Things like acquisitions, I think, have a huge impact on the industry. I think when you have, again, without being too specific, but we've seen recently the likes of Money Supermarket kind of acquire Quidco, for example, and then you start to cross over things like comparison and cashback, and actually that becomes a totally new strand of publisher, for example. And I think we're probably going to see more of that. I think as these new partners arise, we talked about attribution earlier. You saw Awin acquire SingleView. So that means actually, as a network, they can offer attribution now. So I think it's more so the consolidation of actually different tools and different products that, when combining them, which again may not have been done before, could then just totally create a new type of publisher and a new type of affiliate that could be super valuable. So again, mergers are fresh in my mind at the minute, but I think that's probably something that I think could really, really change it, where you kind of maybe have, I think there was a potential merger between Cashback and Quidco previously that got blocked. But again, if something like that were to have happened, actually that would create a sort of seismic wave, I think, in the affiliate industry, where you suddenly have this kind of giant partner with lots of different sub-brands, but actually you can start to cross them all over and be quite creative in how you do that. So yeah, I think that's maybe a realistic thing that could happen, that could have a big change in the industry. I mean, again, I think we've talked a lot about transparency and attribution. I think if we can get really granular with that and start to be really smart with how we're spending and how we're utilising different payment models, I think that, coupled with what I mentioned previously, could have a huge impact, because then it's protection of your budget and it's actually spending smarter. It's working out a true ROI. It's working out a true CPA, which for some brands it's a case of you just don't have that data. But if that data is readily available within networks, I think that's going to be really useful. Another thing, actually, recently I went to the Avon think tank conference, and they mentioned about bringing benchmarking into the platform. So again, I think if we can start to have these tools within affiliate network platforms where it's just at your fingertips, actually that's going to be really, really super useful for brands, because at the moment it's a case of you may get that information quarterly, you then have to react to it. But actually, if you've got it there in real time, you can be much more reactive, you can move quicker, you can grow your program quicker, and also combat your rivals and your competitors a lot quicker. So yeah, a few things there.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely shift the needle. So it's funny you just brought out think tank. I saw a post on LinkedIn which was from you while you were there. Expect some follow up. That just leads me to a question: how can people reach out to you? Where do they find you? What's the best way to get in contact? And actually, what do you want them to be asking of you when they do reach out?
People will quite often connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you do want to reach out or work with SMARTY Mobile in any way, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way now for sort of professional introductions and contact as well. And I think it's really important from a brand point of view to actually always be open-minded with new stuff. And I've mentioned before, actually, the great thing about the channel is that most of the things you can do are relatively risk-free, and you can switch them off at any time. And because it's a performance model, generally, it's a case of, look, let's try it. If it doesn't work, switch it off. You're not committed to anything. And I think, that mindset to be open and try new things, I think, is important, because you'll end up finding a really, really key partner or a really key solution. And if you're shutting the door on things like that all the time, then you won't have ever found that solution. So yeah, I think you've got to be open-minded as a brand and always try things. It may not work, but actually if 1 in 10 works, then actually that's a win.
Yeah, nice. What's your go-to tool to help you do your day job?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, Tableau's kind of my go-to, and I think it's something that most companies probably do use anyway. But yeah, that level of insight and data, I think, is super important to anything you do, because you've got to make decisions based on analysis. You've got to make informed decisions. You've got to see things coming up. You've got to see trends. You've got to always be looking ahead. And if you're not on the forefront of that and you're not regularly utilizing that data, then something could happen in the market that you didn't foresee. It could be a case of actually we're not where we need to be as a business at this stage. Why not? So yeah, I think just off the top of my head, I think I'd say Tableau is something that I utilize every single day. I did get asked this question actually the other day by my line manager, and one thing I did mention actually was, I think it's so important to just keep organised, especially when you've got a lot going on all the time. And I've used Trello for many years, and I just find that super useful. Everyone's different. Some people like to have a notepad, but for me it's something that definitely without I'd be so much less organised.
The question from Laura, which I absolutely should ask you at an appropriate point, and now seems as appropriate as any. Her question was, how has working in affiliate marketing changed the way you consume media?
I think naturally it's made me a much more savvy shopper, and I think you can always online particularly, I think is the best place to get the best deal, in my opinion. So previously I probably would shop more on the high street, and I know this is the way the world is going anyway, but ultimately you look at telco, for example. I know for a fact that you shop around, you will find a very good deal, and there's also other things like cashback as well, and it does definitely add up over time. So that's the key thing it taught me. I think it's just turned me into an extremely savvy shopper, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. What question do you want me to put from you to our next guest?
Sure. Yeah, I was just having to think about this actually. So yeah, my question is going to be, what's the biggest mistake or error you've made in your career, and what did you learn from that?
My thanks to Geordie for being our guest. It's been an absolute pleasure. Personally, I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good talking to you. Nice to see you again. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, no, great, David. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great to catch up, as always.
Well, that was the Affiliate Marketing Diary for Geordie White, the lead affiliate manager for SMARTY Mobile from 3 Network and now Vodafone. We dived into the world of lead generation, partnerships, and the ever-changing landscape of affiliate marketing. And Geordie highlighted the significance of transparency, attribution, and establishing a strong foundation for successful affiliate programs. I particularly liked the discussion on the emergence of B2B marketing and the role of influencers in the industry. Join us again next time to gain more valuable insights and strategies for optimizing your affiliate marketing efforts. I've been David Hall, your host today. And let me remind you that Navigate Digital is the affiliate marketing agency of choice for challenger brands. Please do get in touch for advice and support developing and delivering highly effective affiliate marketing strategies. Bye for now.